We all have a certain amount of control over our lives. We decide where and when we work, how big our house is, how big our mortgage is, what type of car we drive, what age we retire at, and where we live after we retire. The one thing we can't control is when we die. It's impossible. Now, there are certain people who live happy and productive lives way beyond the average lifespan, which is about 74 for an American male. And there's really no way to explain how or why they were able to live so many years. Like my grandpa, Aaron Malmquist. He was born in 1909. That makes him 99 years old. And he's still alive and kicking today. That means he was 3 when the Titanic sunk, 5 when World War I began, 11 when women received the right to vote, 19 when television was invented, 20 when the stock market crashed, 30 when World War II began, 45 when racial segregation in schools was ruled unconstitutional, 52 when John F. Kennedy became president, 59 when Martin Luther King was assassinated, 81 when the World Wide Web came about, 89 when President Clinton was impeached, 92 when George W. Bush became president, 97 when Sony started shipping out PlayStation 3, and 99 when Barack Obama was elected as the first black president of the United States. Aaron lives on a farm a few miles from the town of Mazan, Illinois. Mazan is a small town located about an hour and a half northwest of Chicago. Mazan consists of a market, post office, bank, and thrift shop. If you walked into Aaron's house today, you would most likely find him writing a letter at his desk or watching a sports game on TV. But life hasn't always been so mellow for the retired farmer. That's my grandpa, Aaron Malmquist. I've always just kind of known that he's a kind, loving, caring, and honest human being. From what I remember, everyone, especially us kids, loved to be around him. I also remember that my grandpa was, and really still is, a hard worker. He may not be outside picking corn anymore, but he's still got it. I also remember that my grandpa would read to my sisters and I whenever we had a sleepover. And I remember him teaching us some pretty cool stuff too.
She can do this. Katie can do this.
Someday you can do it, I'll bet you.
But my knowledge of my grandpa pretty much ends there. At least it did before I got to interview him about his life. Tell me about that one.
Well, to begin with, my folks bought me a pony. My uncle, who had a blacksmith shop in a nearby town, built this wagon and gave it to me. Be about 1915. This picture was taken, and this pony is not the original pony that I had. I had a smaller pony, which they call Shetland pony. I was provided with a wagon like this and a pony. We had neighbors that lived here. We lived on the farm, and we had neighbors who lived on the neighboring farm. They had 3 children, 2 boys and 1 girl, who walked to school. Now, the grade school was right on this farm, right on the property of this farm, and I would say there was probably about 20 to 25 students in this grade school, of which 3 came from this neighbor, and I was the only one from this particular place. And pretty near every day. We would come from the school, which is just a quarter of a mile down the road. We'd come to here to my place, and we'd put the harness on the pony, hook the pony onto the wagon, and I would take the kids home, which would be about almost 2 miles from here. And that went on for for the 8 years that we were in grade school.
Tell me about this picture.
Well, this picture, whether it was taken in this country or in Sweden, I don't know, but my father was born in Sweden. He came to this country, well, I'm going to imagine about 1906 or 07, and he worked on the farm, at a farm neighboring the farm here where I've lived a good bit of my life. My grandfather, I call it, homesteaded a lot of this area, and he had 5 children. And he gained somehow or other enough money to buy 5 farms in this area.
Wow.
And he gave one of the farms, one of each of the 5 farms, to each of the 5 children. My wife was the youngest child, and she received what was supposedly the home farm. My grandfather and grandmother are buried in a family cemetery here right on the farm.
Who's this?
Well, I can't tell you exactly what her age was, but this picture was taken prior to the time I knew her.
Who is that?
So
Who is that?
that is Geraldine, my wife.
Geraldine Momquist.
She became my wife in '34. I would say this picture was probably taken, 1929 or 1930.
What about this photo?
Well, this photo was taken at Bendix Aviation Corporation in North Hollywood, California. Bendix Aviation, that particular division, manufactured radios for aircraft and serviced hydraulic equipment for aircraft. At the time I went to work there, they had about 300 employees. And then I had been there probably only a couple of months when the World War II broke out. When it broke out, that increased the need for employees to work at this particular plant because radios and hydraulic equipment were a great part of aircraft. So things happened rapidly for me because of the increased employee requirement. And during the period of the war, which I think lasted approximately, I don't know, I was going to say 10 years, but maybe not quite that long. Anyway, the population of the employment at Bendix increased from 300 to about 3,000,
Wow.
of which I was a part of managing the employment and end of it. After I'd been there about less than a year, I was promoted to employment director, and the man who had employed me and who I was working for, he was promoted to an executive position in the corporation. I held that job for about 10 years. The reason for my stopping work at this place was the fact that the war ended and the number of employees decreased down to, about 1,000 employees. When it got down to that, there were a number of changes made at that particular division of Bendix Aviation Corporation. So I was told that I had a choice of either taking a demotion back to an employment interviewer rather than a director of the employment department, or being transferred to Kansas City in the same position that I held there. We decided, as long as we had the 3 boys, the oldest one being about 8 and the youngest one about 3 months, all boys, decided that coming back to the farm in Illinois would be a good move to make, and we made it.
Speaking of farm, tell me about that one.
Well, this was probably taken when I was probably somewhere between 4 and 8 years old. This happens to be what we call the corn crib, where we used to store the ear corn in it.
Is that the building back there?
Yeah, it's still there.
Yeah?
It's still there. And in pretty good shape. Almost as good a shape today as it was in that day. This happens to be, in those days, we didn't have combines. We had a threshing machine. And they would cut the grain. I'm talking now about wheat and oats. All the neighbors would join together, and they'd have this threshing machine would come to your particular location, and they would run the threshing machine, and there'd probably be, the neighbors would come in, there'd probably be 10 neighbors come in. They'd have 10 neighbors would have a set of horses and a pair of horses, and to go with their hay rack to haul the grain in. Then this stuff would be thrown, the grain would be thrown with a pitchfork. It would be thrown off of the rack into the threshing machine, and what it would do would be to separate the grain from the stalks that it grew on.
Wow.
So that was a very important activity on the farm each year.
So, what did you do for fun when you were my age?
The thing I remember most about it was all of us guys had girlfriends, and that was in the days when you used to go to take them to Motion Picture Corporation. The other would be going to sports events, that is, school sports events. I had a car, that is, the car that I had was that Rio sedan that we had bought when we went to California. That's the car, and as we'd go, usually on these dates of going to shows on one night or 2 nights a week, or going to school games, basketball, football, and so forth and so on, I always provided transportation for at least 3 couples of us that used to go, 6 of us used to go quite frequently on various things, and I was the only one who seemed to be stuck with taking his car and paying for the gas and so forth and so on. So that was what I would call most of the fun.
You had a birthday, October 10th. You turned 99.
Yeah.
How does it feel to turn 99?
Well, I don't feel my age of 99, but I'm getting closer to that every day. That is, I have an arthritic knee, which probably needs to be operated on. But well, that's it. That's one of the reasons why I'm no more active at the present time than I am, and that is because of that knee. It bothers me. I don't walk with a cane. I did for a while. I have the cane sitting over there, and I did. There was about a year that I used that cane, but I've gotten away from it and found out I walk just about as well without it as with it.
Is everything else okay? Do you see okay? Do you hear okay?
I've had eye surgery, and that has developed like it should. I can read it. 1 out. It says on the other side, 8th inning, Philadelphia's 8, LAD 5.
You can read all that.
Oh yeah, I can read it with this eye too. So my seeing at the present time is very good. I have 20/20 in each eye, so that's all you can ask for. My hearing is very poor.
Who do we want to win? Who do you want to win? In the American League? Who do you want to win in the American League games?
I'll just soon have the X-rays do it.
The Devil Rays. X-rays, whatever.
I predicted originally that it would be Philadelphia and the X-rays Rays would be in the finals.
Well, we'll see.
I have hearing aids, and sometimes I think the hearing aids don't help me much, but every time I get into a gathering, the hearing aids bother me so much, I just take them out and go without hearing what's going on. So my hearing isn't all it's supposed to be. My eyesight is excellent, and I've said all along, if I have to lose one, the hearing or the eyesight, I'll take the hearing. They can have the hearing, and as long as I can see things, I'm satisfied.
Well, that's it.
That's pretty much my life.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I love you. Give me a hug.
Okay. Run over here.
Run over.
Way over here.
I see you run. There we go.
That's the way to do it. That's the way to do it.
Plenty of room to run.